one of the great challenges is connecting the sellers with the buyers. So in developed markets where infrastructure is present, both physical infrastructure and market infrastructure, people can come and buy and sell very easily because they know what the prices are, they know that the prices are published, so this is information that's in the public domain, and the quality and standards of the products are established by convention and by regulation, so people can buy and sell very freely without worrying that they're going to lose money or not get delivery of what they're trying to buy. And I think the great opportunity that exists here in Nigeria, and indeed across the African continent, is the opportunity to connect the myriad of small-scale agricultural producers to bring their product together so that there is a volume of product which is then available for export, for development of food processing and manufacturing here in country to feed both the domestic population and also regional and wider export markets. This is a fantastic opportunity, and not only that, but as farmers are connected to markets and their incomes improve because they get better prices for their products, they will invest and the volume of production will go up. So on the African continent, on average, a hectare of maize might yield something like 20% of what it would yield in a structured market. And even if you can't improve it fivefold, if you could improve it two or threefold, you would triple the size of the market. I think that everybody has to trade in this world to survive. The farmer grows his product and has to sell it into a market. And if he sees that there's an opportunity to get better prices, if he sees there's an opportunity to get fertilizer to increase his yields, then he is going to become very, very interested in this. And there are a lot of initiatives that are being undertaken through the development agencies, reaching out to the rural farmers. There are a great many programs that are in place to do this. I don't think that's an insurmountable challenge at all. I think once people start to see the benefit, once people start to enjoy improved livelihoods, they will want to know about this stuff. Well, one of the great advantages of having a structured market is that you give the seller of product an opportunity to choose when he sells. Because when product goes into a warehouse and the seller gets a warehouse receipt, then there is the opportunity to use the warehouse receipt as a form of finance, a security for finance, I should say. So if you use that loan collateral and raise money from the bank, you can choose to delay selling. Typically, prices are going to be lowest at the point of harvest, and they will be highest at the point of scarcity sometime after harvest. So if farmers can start to choose when they sell, then that price volatility is not going to impact them anything like as much as it would do, and as it does do now. So structured markets play a very important role in mitigating price volatility. Well, simply because you substitute products that are now being imported. Nigeria produces, I think a few years ago, Nigeria imported most, if not all, of the tomato paste that it needed. And now tomato paste is made in Nigeria. So you are no longer having to pay foreign exchange for tomato paste. If you replicate that process, then import substitution is one great benefit. The other side of the coin is exporting. Maybe Nigeria is now becoming an exporter of tomato paste. So then you've got the upside as well as the elimination of the downside. There aren't any easy solutions, and there's no one-size-fits-all solution. Every solution has to be designed for the circumstances that exist. The access to roads is, very, very low relative to more developed markets, but the opportunity to develop community-based storage facilities and to have a sort of hub and spoke kind of arrangement. These are the kind of things that we're going to be talking about. We can't necessarily say that those are the right answers for wherever we might be talking about in the remote northern parts of Nigeria, but these are ideas that we can put on the table. Well, again, I think as people see the economic opportunity that exists in farming, I think that is going to encourage people to do more. And okay, people have moved away from farming, but actually what I'm hearing now is a lot of people who are saying, I want to be in farming. I have friends here in Nigeria who are developing their family farm. I was listening to a story the other day of a lawyer who's given up his legal practice to run a farm. So I think actually the change is already starting to happen. And as that story is heard by more and more people, then the tide will grow. And it's not, of course, just about more farmers. It's also all of the jobs that are created in the supporting industries. So transport, running the exchanges, running the warehouses, the clearing and settlement system. There are jobs at every level for all types of people, and the opportunity is enormous. Well, you've got to have the right crops for the circumstances that you're in. And clearly, one very important factor is investment in looking at what is the impact of climate change going to be, and then the research that needs to follow into, well, what are going to be the right crops to plan for the future. I've seen in other countries where climate change has impacted things like the wine growing industry, and there are regions of the world now where where grapevines are being grown and where very high quality wine is being produced, where 20 or 30 years they didn't do that. So climate change can create opportunity provided the right research and the right understanding is generated, and then the right investment is made. I think the key to the success of a commodity exchange is the volume that is traded. An exchange is an expensive thing to run. There are many things that you need for an exchange to work efficiently, and those things have to be paid for. The only way that payment is going to come is if there is enough volume being traded that when the trades happen, clearly the exchange earns from that trading, and that's what you need, the volume. And I think what's happening in Nigeria, where there is a very good collaboration between the authorities and the private sector, I think that I met somebody very interesting a few months ago who was looking at the possibility of building a tractor factory here in Nigeria. which would be a very novel investment, I believe. And he had a tractor that could be fitted with a satellite technology, so that he could record exactly where that tractor was being used, exactly when it was being used, and for how long. So the tractor didn't have to be owned by any one farmer. It could be leased to the farmer for 2 hours or half a day or however long is needed. And the system would tell exactly how much it had been used, so the farmer could be billed just for the use of the tractor that he was going to have. So I think innovative technology creates great opportunity to introduce mechanization, and cooperative movements, of course, can help facilitate that as well. Well, I think the long-term vision is one where the chain becomes shorter. So the number of transactions between the farmer and the point where his product gets deposited in a warehouse is reduced. Maybe the farmer is depositing his product directly in the warehouse. Once it gets into the warehouse and trade becomes structured, then it's the regulator that is actually reinforcing and maintaining the discipline in the market. And if you have dishonest players in the market, then the regulator will withdraw their license and those players will no longer be able to trade. So in the long run, the disincentives for anybody to be dishonest or to fail to settle on their obligations, the disincentives of that are significant, because you'll be out of the market. That's really the way the structured market starts to work. And it takes time to build confidence. Confidence doesn't come overnight, but it can be done. I think, in a sense, the opportunity that is open to the agribusiness sector is far, far greater than that which is open to the oil sector. The oil sector is a mature industry in Nigeria which faces many, many problems. It's capital intensive, it's vulnerable to international price fluctuations, as we've seen, and it's a long-term play. Whereas with agriculture, the level of investment that's needed is not so great, because you have many of the raw materials that you need already. You've got wonderful weather, you've got wonderful soil, you have wonderful rains, and you have people who are ready to work and looking for work. So the capital is a different type of capital, and it's here. All you need is the components around the edge that bring all of that together to make it work. And it's not anything like as much money as is needed as in the oil sector. So there are great returns to be had on agro investment, and I think there are many, many people who are already responding to the excitement of that opportunity. Government involvement is absolutely key, and government has got to understand what is needed to create a vibrant agricultural trading environment in Nigeria. The role of government, it varies from country to country, and it varies from culture to culture. But the things that you're really looking for government to do, the legal framework has got to be there. The regulatory framework has got to be there. Enforcement, development of standards, the warehouse receipt legislation, which is currently being debated here in the legislature. All of these things are in the government domain. Setting up the regulator and having good forward-looking regulators. We heard SEC speak this morning, a very forward-looking regulatory body with an ambition to support the growth of the commodity exchange here. And I think a recognition that government plays an enabling role, but also that it creates a liberal and free environment in which the private sector the investors of the private sector and the energy that comes from those investors can be allowed to flourish. I believe it will, yes. I mean, who knows what disasters can befall us, but I think it helps to stabilize the supply because farmers are no longer at the mercy of high prices or low prices. There is more price stability, there is more stability in the market. So what's going to happen is, with a more stable environment, investment increasing, the volume that is being produced is going to increase. I suppose there are no absolute guarantees, but it's all moving in the right direction. And the recognition that exists in the world that African populations are growing hugely, the need to feed them, the need to provide for them is a global issue.